gentlemen, this is the fourth session of the day, and I think this may be the best looking audience we've had so far. So welcome on and welcome on. But we are now joined by the audience of all the MBE here today. So if you can give them a nice one welcome, start with your Malkin.
Hello, is everything working? Yes, it's all working today. Thanks very much. Yes, welcome everybody. That's it. You can come in. That's okay. It's okay. Anybody else? Can we get your seats in a minute? Can we do space? Husband's over there in the corner. That looks like a garden gnome, but he's there to support me. Very, very fortunate to have him here today. So, okay, we're going to talk about autism. Those who were there at the last conference last year remember me talking about dyscalculia, which is a condition of God. And today I'm talking about autism, which is also a condition I've got as well. So, I first knew I was autistic way back in 2008. I was 14 then, and got diagnosed just before I went to university. You'll learn a lot today, and everything I'm going to talk about today is all geared for driving instructors. You're going to find so much knowledge here today that I can share with you. And I've also got a lot of material here that I can share with you at the end of the session. There's plenty of time to do that downstairs. So, let's go. So first of all, what actually is the autism spectrum? Yeah, neurological brain difference. Absolutely. Hang on a minute. I'm not sure these slides are either working. There's two on the screen here, and it's a bit confusing. So I'm going to step down here and have a look at this. Right. So several conditions that affect the actual brain called neurodivergent or ND, as opposed to everyday called neurotypical or NT. You might have heard those words before. And if you think of two phones, like an Apple phone and an Android phone, you just think of them both going on Google, they both go on Facebook, but they're on different apps learning. So if you're dealing with autism spectrum, you're dealing with a different way of learning. Yeah, there's always one, isn't there? Right, okay, so from the top, ND and NT people both can learn, but in different ways. That's why we don't get on very well at school. We never do. And have a lot of trouble trying to learn in the group, no problem, because we suffer a great deal with that. Our learning speeds are different from yours. Please do not compare those on the spectrum with everyday people, or even with autism spectrum people. So my people's in 30 hours, only got this far, because we learn in different ways. And sometimes it can take us a long time to get a skill, but once it gets in, 99% it'll stay there, because we won't get bad habits as we grow older. So, the neurological brain difference, how they see the world on a social level. It's about making social connections. So it affects communication, interaction, and social imagination. And this is the way the autistic brain works. That friendships, relationships are much, much harder if you're on the spectrum. So therefore, so is building trust with a driving instructor. Building trust with instructors is absolutely vital if you're on the autism spectrum. You need to have that trust with you. And if you're an autistic person who is a driving instructor, be prepared for pupils making social contacts faster than you would as an everyday person, because it's very difficult for us. To be an autistic person can be very isolating. You go through school and college with no friends. It's very, very difficult to make friends. You can't work in a group. Very difficult. You think of the man isolated on the moon and thinking how far the moon is away from planet Earth. And that is the difference. That is the difference. We can see the Earth and what's going on in the world. And you'll learn about the three different levels of autism. And the higher the level number that we're on, the level ones will want to integrate with the world more. They're the ones that you're going to see, because they view the world as a way to interact with people, thinking, if I learn to drive, I can be like everybody else. They want to be part of the world, of course they do. So, the three levels, level one that needs some support. Very, very important that they get some support. The level instructors are most likely to see. In the old days, they used to call it Asperger's syndrome. They don't use that word anymore. But if your pupil says, I'm Asperger's to you, then you're free to use that term. Don't be afraid to use it. So, very, very important to know that the work memory is good. So these are the people that are quite good academically. It's the social problems they have trouble with. You've got personal passions. Ask your pupil what they're most interested in. Psychiatrists call it obsessional behaviour. It's not an obsession, it's part of our soul. You might get us interested in anything to do with transport, or cars, or anything involved with the road, like trains, etc. We talk about level crossings. anything. You find out what their passion is, and you'll be able to teach them better because you're communicating on their level, and they love to talk about their passions with you. So, their command language could do with the communication. Sometimes there's problems with interaction socially. Sometimes it will take them a long time, about 10 weeks or so, for people to open up fully to you if they're on the spectrum. Level 2s need moderate support. So you're dealing with people who find verbal communication difficult. Some will like to use diagrams, cards, photos. Some collect photographs on the phone. We have somebody collecting photographs on the phone. Oh, look at the biggest part. I says, right, how did a cab driver deal with this? So then you're teaching him using his own experience. We learn a lot from real life on the spectrum rather than diagrams, photos. We like reality. We love to have things real for us. So, driving can be their passion. They want to succeed. They want to learn. These people are dedicated to it. I had one person whose face turned bright purple every single time he turned left. And that was because of the effort and the energy that he's putting into the work. Be prepared to reduce your lesson times because they can lean through their energy in, and after 20 minutes they'll be flat out in the seat because I had one person who couldn't even see him, he was so flat out. Just like that. Just like that, and his mum's in the back of the car because all the time I take payments on the rides and he's just saying, all I says is going to be okay, but that's as far as it can take. 20 minutes, don't go in next time for 25 and start building it up. Yes, we do. So communication, interaction in level 3, more support needed. You won't often see a level 3 autistic person because they are happy in their own little worlds a lot. They have their own worlds that they create themselves and don't interact with the everyday world too well. But if driving is their passion, that's what keeps them going. It will take longer. I had one pupil that took 7 years. He was a level 3. I had one pupil who was a level 1. He took 9 individual hours. I was his only instructor, didn't have a car to practice in, came from another town. He had another hour in his hometown with somebody who had trained and passed his test first time with no faults. It can be done. Yes, it can be. It can be taught. If I can instruct, they can drive. So, what they see as a hazard is different to the way you perceive the hazard to be. So they need to know what a hazard is on the road because they see danger everywhere. They've got eyes all over the place, some of them, because they've been going through ridicule, they've been going through bullying, they've been laughed at, they've been stressed out, they get so sick and tired of life, and they come home and bury themselves in the bedroom and do the passion over and over again and repeat with people they like doing. So the world's a frightening place. And so what they see are different hazards than the way you would see, and sometimes they need to be taught what hazards are. So, how does the brain process the information? It's a different way to yours. Sometimes it's record and play back. If there's a fault, it's more likely to repeat it again and again because of that difficulty. Sometimes I have a lot of difficulty trying to give feedback because they remember the same fault and repeat again and again. They learn by knowledge and application and not by trial and error. You can say to an autistic person, have a go. And those brave enough to try are usually 1, terrified to make a mistake, and 2, being judged in case they do. Judgment is a big, big thing on the spectrum. That's why a lot of people will hide it. That's why you've got to learn and understand the way autism works, even when they don't open up to you or give you a diagnosis paper and say, hey, I'm on the spectrum. Some of them won't do. They hide, what we call masking. They hide themselves. Of course they do. So, social imagination. Can your pupils see the consequences of their actions? Can they see what they do on the road is going to affect everybody else? That's the hardest thing. But sometimes they see themselves in their own world and everybody else is being hostile. They can't see the drivers all getting to the same destination or different destinations, having to work with each other to get through roundabouts and junctions. Vague questions. So what's down the road? They'll say, tarmac. They might say something like that. And I had a person once, and I was training her to be she was already a driving instructor teaching autism, and I said, you give me a question that will get your pupil to check mirrors in the new road if they're on the autism spectrum. And so, what happened? She goes into, it's actually raining. It's raining it down, absolutely fine. She's turning left, and she says to me, how's the road behind you? And I said, wet. Now, this is the literalness of the autism spectrum. This is the literalness of the language. So anything that's vague, it takes social imagination to process. And because sometimes we lack the social imagination, we like things a little bit more clear. So if they were to say, any cars behind you, any traffic, any road users, and teach us what hazards are, show us. It might need a little bit more clarification than the everyday person, but we're going to need that help because of the literal way in which many of us can view things. Sometimes you can't see any link between the emotions and the facts. If we ask us, how do you feel about this junction? Well, I want to understand you. How do you feel about the way other drivers are doing it? How you can interact with the other drivers? Make it a social communication kind of situation rather than a fact. It's like saying to them, how do you feel that 1 1 make 2? Does my feeling matter? No. Does it change it? No. That's why they can't see the point. So make it as factual as possible and link the fact to the emotion, the way in which it's going to affect your person behind the wheel. So you need your anticipation splitting up a what if, the one to understand maybe social imagination trouble. So you say one question, what's that pedestrian going to do? Another question, how does that affect you? What's the first thing we're going to do? So if you split it up, what you're doing is building little stepping stones between one end of the social imagination problem and the other, so they can just slowly build up the skills. So what you're doing is teach them social imagination skills as well as learning how to drive. Great preparation for the everyday world. So, with communication, small talk. Oh, it's raining, I left the washing out, and they're thinking, that's the facts, what can I do about it? And often say, what's the point? And feel, what's the point? Why do they do things like this? I don't understand why everyday people do things like that. But not the sort of people just sit around a tea party and start chatting. And because of that, sometimes they feel when they're with other people, because of communication trouble, like this, they'll think, I can understand this person when they're talking. Do not slow down when you talk. They can talk to us at normal speed. We're everyday people, we're not disabled people. Autism's not a disability. Autism is a difference in the brain. If there's any disability, it's on top of the autism. It's not the autism causing the disability. It's something else, of course it is. How's the road ahead? Yep, wet. No, we're spitting like it looks like car further down the road. So similarly, that's as big as a house. Imagine a literal house for very literal people. And metaphors, raining cats and dogs, where's the literal cats and dogs? And the terms of phrase that people have can often throw us out completely. I've got your back, and what's your back? And I'm looking behind my own back and thinking, where's your back? So sometimes it's like that, these everyday expressions that people use, they can be rather confusing to us. Maybe diagrams and photos are not clear. You've got to be 100% clear to affect real life. If there's any discrepancies, very, very careful and watch out for spelling errors, because someone was on the spectrum and finished up with that. We pick up everything and there's a mistake on. We can see it. So building trust is important. It's very important to build social interaction. Sometimes we can't start a conversation up. We are not being rude. Sometimes we can appear to be rude if the language that we use is wrong. Sometimes we try and blurt things out to get the words through, and it might appear to be rude to you, but we're not being rude. We're trying not to be. Please don't think we're being rude if you have trouble with interaction. Sometimes we can't understand others when we're spoken to. We're not ignorant if we don't reply, we're just trying to think of that answer. Think of our brain like a big computer, and you think of us opening files up in that brain and scanning down the file looking for the right one to open. Files and folders, that's how our brains are working. Think of files and folders, especially when you're thinking about things like roundabouts, driving, communicating with each other. Like meeting situations, people are communicating. And they're thinking, how does a car communicate? And we can get confused. Let's see the 3 ways in which autistic people can react to roundabouts, and you'll be able to see this for real in real life. So, we get some people on the autism spectrum look at a roundabout. Imagine they're a pedestrian at the side of the road, seeing a junction actually working with free-flowing traffic. And what are they going to do? The first one might say, ow! And they might literally have the hands over the eyes and ears, and some might even look away from it because of the chaos. It looks like total chaos and confusion. It looks like there's a lot of stress. Oh, I can't go in there, I can't do that. You might physically see trembling, so watch out for that as well as I start to shiver and shake a little bit. Overwhelming. Sensory overload, which we suffer a great deal from. Information overload. What's the information coming in? There's all these different crowds and colours, everything. Wow, it's incredible. And we're thinking, ow! This makes us want to turn away because it's quite shocking. It could cause quite a shock if we get that kind of situation because of all the chaos of movement, of different vehicle types, different coloured vehicles going in and out of the roundabout at all different junctions. Ooh, painful. The next response that you might get is, wow! Now this is a surprise. This is a look at this kind of response. They are amazed at what they see. If they think, wow! If they they think, wow, they can see under the Alps. So they see through the chaos, they can see underneath that, and then it looks like magic. Oh, look at this roundabout, look at the way it's working. They're able to go on there with all that confusion, all to the traffic, and then all come off at the exit. It's just like that, and they don't crash into each other. Isn't that incredible? And they're actually looking at it from a pedestrian standpoint, seeing how the roundabout's actually working. And when they see that roundabout, they are amazed and astounded at what they see. It is magic to them. And they go, wow, look at this, it's incredible. Now, you come into those who are very, very logical, with very logical brains next to very, very logical Mr. Spock type of autism. And these are the people that go, how? Now these are puzzling it out. These people are actually puzzling out that roundabout. They're looking at it and they can see through the chaos this time, and they can also see through the magic as well. They can see through that, and now they're looking at it and thinking, how is this working? How do they do it? How is that even possible? For all these cars just go on this roundabout and leave it all these exits. It's incredible. How do they do it? And they're puzzling in their minds as to how it all works. And that's because, once again, a social connection. Because they need to learn to see the car as more than a means of transport, it's a communication tool. Because some might think, are these people psychic? How do they know when to go? How do they even know when to come off? I can remember where they're going, and it's, oh, look at all this information coming in, how it can overload a person on the spectrum. If I break it down like that, you can see how overloading it can be to one of us to see around. That's just seeing, that's not driving it. That's actually seeing it, to see it for the first time and how it actually works. Pick a lovely big roundabout, nice flowing traffic, and see how your autistic pupil responds to one of these, and see how the reactions are going to be. And that's how you take the session slowly up. If everybody says, ow, we're thinking, how do we get them into this roundabout slowly, right from scratch? If they go, wow, we're thinking, right, let's take the magic out of it. Let's figure out how it actually does work and take them through the steps of making it work. But those that go, how? Can that be me? Watch out for those thinking they can't do it. The self-esteem is low with those on the autism spectrum, especially in the high-level ones. It might seem a bit converse, but the higher on the spectrum they are, the more they want to interact with the everyday world. The more they want to interact with you. The more they want to be part of society. The more they want to have a role to play. And because of that, they try to interact and fail all over again. And they keep getting bullied. And they keep getting ridiculed. The suicide rate is high. 7 per 1,000 commit suicide, and for everyone that does 20 more try on the spectrum. That's official figures. So what you're doing is thinking, what about the person's self-esteem? What if they look at that roundabout and think, I can't do this, I can't do this. And you might see them shy away or turn away, watch for that kind of reaction. And watch for them. I mean, I've even had people burst into tears when they see a roundabout because they are thinking, I'll never, ever be able to do this. And they get so upset and so afraid that they really do feel like bursting into tears. And I've had several cry on me. And the boys get frustrated usually, and the girls can burst into tears quite quick, and they look around thinking, I can't do this, because I don't know how to do it. I haven't got a clue. And it's, oh, and I'm thinking, hang on, wait. Let's take one car. Let's see how this car's going to work. So I pick one car out while they're still looking, while there's some pedestrians, and thinking, let's see what decisions that driver's making. How do they know when it's their turn to go? Let's see if we can work that out very slowly. And then we work out how that fits in the things that they already know. Well, what about mirror checks? Can you do mirror checks? Yeah, this mirror's doing a check. Do you think they're checking mirrors? Of course they are. They're driving, same as what you're going to do. So you're picking out the common denominators between the things they've got already and the people on that roundabout, and thinking, if they can do it, then what about me? Is there a chance? Is that me? Is there a chance as well? Of course there is. Very, very important to know that there is. So, you might see stress. And when you see stress, you might see stimming. A lot of people on the spectrum know what stimming is, and those who work with them should know what it is, and the parents might know what it is, but the driving instructors know what it is. Think of the repeated actions that a person on the spectrum could do. There's a lot of tapping and hand flapping, especially among the kids. And then the could think, oh, I've got to have something in my hand to hold. Might feel comfortable, like stress balls, etc. They might get that kind of thing. You've also got people who might make sounds, like raspberry. Sorry about the mic, I'll have to clean it up later. And then also, you might get them pursing lips, you might get people who scratch or pull hair, things like this, that's quite common. And I had one person in a sleeved top, very, very long kind of sleeve top, who used to pull the sleeve down all the time, pull. And then I said to her, do you want to wear a t-shirt? Is that easier? Is it easier for you to drive in a t-shirt? And she says, no, because that's part of the stim action. That stim action is relaxing to them and it gets the stress out of the system. It's not being rude, it's not being nasty. It's not a dirty habit or anything like that, it's the way it is. Get to know the different stims your pupil does because you've got to watch out for the level of stress. It's very, very important to look at the stress that pupils coming through because of all that overwhelm, from the colours, the brightness, the amazing amount of crowds, all that communication going on in cars that they're having trouble understanding, and just be able to break it down. And you think about all the problems they're going to get if the stress goes too high. What do? They start stimming. If that stim gets to the point where it's over dramatic or repeats over and over again and doesn't stop, then you know that the stim isn't working, it's not calming the person down. You've got to be able to pull them in. You don't ask them about the stim when you pull them in. You don't ask them about the stim. You never mention the stimming because stimming is part of being on the spectrum. Just the same as our communication problems are. Just the same as our personal passions are. Just the same as our social interaction trouble is not at all. Making friends, interacting with people is something we desperately want to do. Stimming is part of us. So when you see one of us stim, you don't mention the stim, you pull us in. This gets to talk about something nice and calm first. I always do. Talk about the personal passion. Get them calm so then they can answer things about the road. If you talk about the road immediately, sometimes they get extremely stressed and that piles the stress on more. So you calm them down first. Have you ever seen anybody who isn't calm on the autism spectrum? Have you ever seen anybody have a real meltdown? Those on the spectrum know what meltdown is. But you don't want that in your car. And they'll hold onto that wheel and they won't let go. They'll hold onto it so tight they'll trouble pulling it. You'll hold onto it so tight they'll trouble pulling the top of your car. And they won't be able to hear you. And they won't be able to hear over you. And when they got a meltdown, they'll be pulling in, they'll be troubling like this. Shake, like that. And you've got to be able to get them to breathe. Deep breath in to the count 2. 1, 2, up. And out again to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that heart rate will be through the roof, may as well tell you. And then you talk about my personal passion again. Talk about what they enjoy more than anything else in the world, and you make them calm down with that. That is the way you calm. You make them relax and get them to ease even one little finger off that wheel. Just step by step as you go. Then you might find the old stimming coming in. Over and over again, you might find it. Might get annoyed, might get a bit of scratching. You might get people pulling clothes, things like that, adjusting themselves or hair, anything like this. But then when they do start stimming, the stress is gone and they start to use the stim action again. So then they're able to talk to you. They can talk over the stimming. But they can't talk over a meltdown, and they can't tell you how they're feeling if they're in a real meltdown state. So it's just so important to know stress on the different levels of autism and to know what stimming is and the fact it's natural for us. And try to avoid a meltdown more than anything else on planet Earth. Okay. Any questions? Got a roving mic down here. Hope. Hello. Got somebody on me, very lucky today. Let's see what I got.
Hi, Judy.
Hello.
First of all, thank you. Excellent. Just a quick one. What about the people that you ask the question around like neurodiversity? It's one of the things I've learned over the years, because you want to know who you're teaching before you get wheels moving. So you ask the question and then they get offended. Because you can see they're either, if you've got experience as I have being restored to autism, probably an spectrum myself, to be honest. But
yes, you are, because you have from here, don't worry about that.
yeah.
We're part of the great crowd.
But yeah, I mean, right. So
I've worked in this trade for years.
But when you ask that question and they then get offended, or mum and dad get offended because there's no diagnosis.
Oh, that's the common thing. So that's the problem, you see. You never ask them, first of all, whether they're on the spectrum or not. If they show signs of it, you think about that roundabout again. You think about them, put them on the roundabout situation. You put them up as a pedestrian, looking at that roundabout. See if you get any of those reactions on our presentation slide. Because that's how they think the autism spectrum, and then you act as if they were. You think more detail in the language. Keep the vagueness out. Watch for the stimming action. And ask for something that's precious to them. What's their personal passion? So you can use that if they get stressed. We don't mention autism, we don't mention doctors, we don't mention spectrum, we don't mention papers. No, diagnosis, nothing. But we act as if they were, and follow what I've just been saying now. Treat them as if they were, without saying the A word. Right? Yeah. Hello, yes.
Can I ask, people with autism, I have a young lad who's not very verbal. I get a lot of handshakes, head shakes. I get the stimming, and he struggles with verbal, so giving time to talk, but very little. How do we deal with that?
Oh, so you probably got, is this a selective mute? Think it's selective mute? There's a lot of selective mutes about. Have you tried pictures, diagrams, cards, things like this?
Yeah.
Have you got him to actually put what he wants to say in text and send it to you?
Yes, but I get nothing back.
There's no feed? No? Well, that'll take a long time because there's a big barrier over there, and that barrier will take a long time to break, and 99.99 is either confidence-based or trust-based. How long have you known this person?
A few months now, but he came from a previous school.
Oh, now that's caused a lot of trouble because they've gone a bit of the old RSD, the old RSD,
Yeah.
Do you know what RSD is?
No.
Rejection-sensitive dysphoria.
Right.
Now, that's very common with the old ADHD people. For those who want to spell it, I can spell it. If anybody writes this down, rejection-sensitive dysphoria, or RSD, you can Google it. It's caused by a rejection if somebody has dropped them saying, no, I can't teach you, and going to get
say that one more time?
RSD, rejection, sensitive, dysphoria, dysphoria, D-Y-S-P-H-O-R-I-A.
Be helpful if we can spell.
D-Y-S, yeah. D-Y-S-P-H-O-R-I-A. Dysphoria. I mean, after this presentation is finished, I'll still be around downstairs, so you can still talk to me, and then that's good for you. I just wanted to see your thing. So as a lady with a question as well, I'm just going to get this one figured out. But the thing is, RSD, so you look that up. Now what that's caused by is a person that's rejected a pupil twice and take long for the second one because of our trust issues. And what that's doing is affecting our trust in people. You've got to be 100% open to your person. Their safe space. Everyone else isn't lots of safe space, yeah? Might be a bedroom at home, use it as their safe space. That car has got to be a safe space as their own bedroom to express themselves. If they don't feel as if they can express themselves 100%, they won't open up to them. Talk to them more about the passions, get them to open up about it, even bringing things into the car and say, what have you done this week? Is there anything you've collected, anything you've made, anywhere you've been, any photographs, anything? Start the interaction slowly with something a person really loves or anything else in the world. That's the best way to play RSD's barrier. That's what's done that. Yeah. Okay. I think there was a lady at the back there. Oh, thanks. Hooray, ask you a question at once.
Hi, I was just going to say, how is the best way to build rapport, build that trust with?
Or personal passion, find what a person is interested in, really build that up, because that is not just a hobby, that is part of our soul. You're dealing with something that's soul death, something that we can't survive without almost. It is terrible to survive without it. For someone to take an interest in what our personal passion is is a person who wants to communicate with us and break down those social barriers. It's the best thing you can ever do. A personal passion builds confidence in us. Is your person of interest? Now, the only thing to watch out with this is some people will babble about it in the car all day, so it's very important if they start to be able to say, right, 5 minutes at the end of your lesson, we're going to talk about what you've been doing in the passion, okay? But the only trouble is with trust, you stick to that clock because they'll want you to stick to it. Okay. Okay, yeah. Sorry, we get some focus. Yes.
Yes, if somebody does have a meltdown, how
Oh,
would
yeah.
you deal with that situation?
Right, first of all, they calm them down. Put the car, make the car safe first, and then say to the pupil, everything's safe. The car's safe, I'm here, you're here, car's here, everything's all right, there's the traffic still running, still moving. And then you breathe exercises in for the count of 2, out for the count of 4. And then slowly when they start to come around, you mention that passion again. Think about what you're doing think about what you're doing. How's the dog today? Or how's that computer game that you've been working on? And then you mention it. And so that will slowly bring them out. And we don't go through what's happened until they're fully out on it, because they will not be able to mention it. Hello.
Then you'll have to stop there, Julie, just at your time.
Are we doing the old clock?
That's it, we're done.
We're done. I shall still be around the building, don't worry. I'll be in the bar area if you want to talk to me. It's no problem. I'll be drinking myself to death after this.